Hey everyone, Andrew here. So you asked and I listened, and now let's take a look at Trails in the Sky First Chapter Nintendo Switch 2 Edition in handheld mode. Okay, so we're effectively going to do the same exact test that I did with the Switch 1 demo on the OLED Switch and the Switch 2. So we're gonna start here in the Bracers Guild. As you can see, it looks okay. Runs relatively smoothly. This is going to be interesting. I've seen the debates online that the load times are much worse on the Switch 2 version, and it's definitely true. So what you're gonna find here is that initially, it's got some frame pacing issues for sure. It's very similar to what we saw in the docked mode gameplay. However, after a little bit of time, it does kind of seem to smooth out just a little bit. But it's definitely not always hitting the 60 frames per second target, which, I mean, that's unfortunate for sure, considering what we had with East 10 Proud Nordics. However, I will say, I feel like this is a perfectly playable version of the game. It does look pretty nice in comparison to like the Switch 1 version. I know I had a slight comment discussion with someone who... Oh wait, what's this? What the heck? Oh jeez. What's she doing here? Why is she doing this? Come on now. Come on, can you see we're recording? Get out of here. Anyways, where were we? Yes, Trails in the Sky. So I was having a conversation with someone in the comments about whether or not it's worth upgrading to the Switch 2 version when the Switch 1 version just runs almost flawlessly. And my personal opinion is that I kind of prefer the clarity of this version, like the visual fidelity and clarity that you get out of the image when compared to the Switch 1 version. I definitely would say if you're absolutely dead set on having a locked 60 with no frame pacing issues whatsoever, go for it. That's perfectly fine. For me though, I like the enemies rendering in the distance at full frames, and I like just how clean the game looks, and I basically feel like we've confirmed at this point after some digging online that what we have both in handheld and docked is obviously just the performance mode, the 1080p 60 frames per second target mode, and overall, like I feel like it does a respectable job. It's not perfect, but I mean it's perfectly playable and still very enjoyable, and it does feel responsive enough, which I think is pretty important for the action mode. So overall, I can't really complain too much. I honestly debated seeing seeing if I could roll back to the Switch 1 version just to see and make the comparison, because my comparison point is of course the Japanese demo from about a month or so ago, and I know that it's probably not the final build, so it's probably not representative of what it truly looks like, but I wouldn't know because I haven't tried it yet. However, I can say with certainty that messing with this, like, I do enjoy this port. And I know online there's quite a bit of a drama and a stink on certain corners of the Falcom fandom about this version just because of its performance woes, if you will. And yes, it is unfortunate to see again, because East 10 Proud Nordics is a flawless 4K 60 FPS like all the time pretty much, and its alternative mode is 1080p at 120 FPS. So it's like, yeah, it is kind of a bit of a bummer that we can't get that here, but it's very possible that maybe they'll come around and release some patches that iron things out. And yeah, you can see here those enemies, they're so smooth in the distance. That's such a big thing that annoyed me on the Switch 1 version when I played the demo. See, I'm gonna go grab the big mob like I always do in this little test I do. Also, the foliage density I think is better and higher on the Switch 2. Like there's definitely more environmental detail overall. Like I think the details and the clarity for me are just way better here. Like shadow quality is also a bit higher. I mean, it's not the best, but it's definitely better than it was on the original Switch. And I'm not. I don't know. I think I'm at a point now where I don't think I can please everyone with my opinion on this, but I do think that this version for me is the version that I'm going to happily play all the way through, because I mean I love this game. It's great, and you know I think I can look past the frame pacing issues. Really, the worst of it is when you're just kind of slowly panning the camera, like in combat and everything. Like when you're actually more focused on just surviving and fighting, you're really not going to notice it. In fact, it feels really good, not gonna lie. Like just in comparison to what I remember playing the original demo. Obviously the Switch 1 on Switch 2, or Switch 1 version on Switch 2, was, you know, probably the closest to how this version feels. And while this version definitely is not a locked experience like that one was for the most part, like it's still really close. Like it is enjoyable and very playable. And I think the handheld mode for this is actually maybe a little bit better than playing it on dock, but at the same time, I think I need more time with it in docked mode, because handheld mode, you have the benefit of VRR, and you know, just for me personally, this is also a higher refresh rate display. Not that it matters, because you know it's still targeting 60, but my main monitor is only a 60 hertz monitor, so yeah. Plus, it's a smaller display. You know, it's gonna look a little bit better considering it's 1080p. My monitor is much larger, so a 1080p resolution on a 4K monitor is obviously going to look slightly worse. So I think, for me personally, handheld mode is probably the way to play this game, but I am going to more than likely pop this in the dock on my my big 65-inch TV later and try that out. Yeah, as you can see, as I slowly pan the camera, this is honestly the worst of it is right there. Honestly, it could be worse. So yeah, there you have it. The Switch 2 in handheld mode for Trails in the Sky First Chapter Switch 2 Edition. Such a mouthful, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's fun. So something that I mildly mentioned in my last video, just showing the game in general, is that the HD rumble on the Pro Controller for this game in particular is really strong. Like, it's actually very strong. It surprises me pretty much every time I start noticing it. I'm like holy crap. The HD rumble is definitely HD rumbling. Like it's really cool. I think it's a really neat little application of it. It doesn't happen all the time, but like it makes it so like big hits feel big, if that makes sense. Like HD rumble is one of those things where it's like it's cool when it's used well. Unfortunately, a lot of developers don't really use it like at all, so it's really nice to see Falcom doing it here. Again, I really can't stress enough, I really do wish that this game had the same performance as like East 10 Proud Nordics. I feel like a broken record on that, because that game it's practically flawless on the Switch 2. Like, it's phenomenal. It's one of the better Switch 2 games, like Switch 2 versions of a game that's available right now. Even if it's not available in English, it's only in Japan and I think Asia right now. So yeah, it is what it is. I really do wish we could have that here already, but I know we're getting it early next year, which is fine. I think that is one that I will already go ahead and say you should definitely play East 10 Proud Nordics when it comes out. I do think it's worth your time and your money. It's a phenomenal port. So yeah, just I'm a little torn because I feel like there's things that they could patch. Like, they could definitely patch this game and make it a smoother experience, like get rid of that stutter. The frame pacing issues in particular, I think, could be ironed out with a patch. But also, I really want them to Give us the 4K 30 FPS mode. I know it's not like something people will probably care about the most, but if it's a smooth locked 30 FPS with like some smart like blurring or something like that for motion, like not necessarily like full on motion blur, but like intelligently used blur, I think it could be a really great experience. It's on the eShop page, and I saw someone say like, well, maybe it was just a copy paste, right, from another storefront, like maybe the PS5 or something. I don't know if that's what happened, because they have it in a very specific section on the eShop page for it, where it's like in its own little side, like little box at the bottom. It's like, oh, the Switch 2 features. So I really don't think it's just I think they just forgot to put it in the game. Like, it's probably just behind some line of code. They just have to like maybe like slap a break or something in there and get it in there. If it were me coding, then it very possibly could just be something that's been commented out that needs to just, you know, be uncommented out. You know, it could be anything though. Maybe it just wasn't ready for launch. Maybe they, you know, kind of last minute decided, because it took a while to get the official word that we were getting a Switch 2 edition. Like, I genuinely didn't think we were going to get one at launch because of just how fast they were. Just like, I think it was maybe within the last month, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, a Switch 2 edition is coming. So maybe it was just one of those things where it was so late into its development that they wanted it out on launch day, and they did get it out on launch day, to their credit, and it is very playable and very enjoyable. I do recommend it. Like, I really do, personally. But if you don't feel the same way and you want to play the Switch 1 version on your Switch 2, perfectly fine. Like, that version is just as good. I mean, it might be a little better for you personally. For me, I prefer visual clarity and just the fidelity and enemies rendering better at a long distance, and the extra density and the details. Like, there's a lot happening that I appreciate as somebody with a background in art and animation and game development. I really appreciate the finer details that you are missing on Switch 1. Not saying Switch 1's bad. Like, if it's, I think I said it in my demo testing, where I was like, if this was all I had and they didn't release a Switch 2 version, I would be perfectly happy. So I do think it is a perfectly valid way to play. So please don't misunderstand. Not saying that you are misunderstanding, but in the event somebody, you know, feels very strongly about that in particular, like, hey, do what you want, man. Like, that's cool. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's video games. You pick the version you enjoy the most, and for me, it happens to be the Switch 2 version. If I had it on PC, I would probably play it there, but I'm probably not going to double dip on this one, since my Falcom collection is most complete on Switch. So it is just kind of how it is right now. So yeah, anyways, I've been rambling way too long, I feel like. If you like what I'm doing here, you know, I want to support the Falcom community first and foremost on this channel. Like, that has become a very large focus for me, is making Falcom content be like the major pillar of my content on the channel. Obviously, when Ronnie's involved, she's probably not interested in any of this. So I don't force her to come along for the ride. So yeah, we've been doing some horror stuff on the side, and that's pretty much been flooding the channel the most, I think, in the last like week or so. We are planning on bringing back live streams, which I was already going to be live streaming East Origin here soon, since, you know, we finished books 1 and 2, and I am doing the whole series in the story order on stream. So yeah, we're going to be picking up streaming again. So if that is of interest to you, we'd love to have you there. And yeah, I guess this is the part I always hate doing. Okay, if you enjoy the content, consider liking maybe even consider subscribing. I don't know if I've earned that from you at this point, but I do really appreciate it. We just hit 800 today, and the support for the last video for Trails in the Sky first chapter, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, has been phenomenal. Like, genuinely, I'm impressed that it's doing as well as it is. Yeah, I really appreciate all of you watching, and if you're here at this point in time, I'm gonna say the joke that I did the one time that so somebody that texted me later was like, bro, what was that? And that is, if you're here at this moment in time, I love you. Anyways, y'all, hope y'all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time.